it literally transformed my life. I no longer see myself as somebody with depression. I started and scaled a business to 6 figures in a year and started to be recognised by people like all over the world for this crazy gift that I have.
On today's episode of Spill the Tea with LLIB, we have the incredible Leanne Rose.
So Leanne, can you share with our listeners a little bit more about your business and the unique aspects that set it apart?
Of course, yeah. So essentially my business is about teaching people the power of identity and its role in how successful we are in life. So the reason that my business is slightly unique is because I have a background in mental health nursing and interpersonal therapy, but that wasn't the thing that blew my business up. I actually have a really unique spiritual gift that is channeling, essentially. And so the angle that I really teach people about this from is what we call superconscious manifestation. So I teach a really advanced form of manifestation. Are you girls familiar with manifestation? Mm-hmm. So if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks, I essentially do the same thing as Esther. So that is really what got my business off the ground, which, as you can imagine, is a bit bizarre when you're a mental health professional and you are channeling online. So I do less of that kind of forward facing at the moment because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and I do a lot of identity and self-concept work. But essentially, we're using manifestation principles to create, evidence-based transformation that changes people's lives. So that's really my business in a nutshell.
Wow, how interesting.
It's good fun.
How did you get into that? How did you get from mental health nurse to manifestation goddess?
I love that.
Well, I like that term. We might be using that in the bio.
Yeah.
So essentially, I struggle with my own depression for a long time. And I was obviously a trained mental health professional. I'm an interpersonal therapist. I was applying all of the evidence-based, principles, and it just wasn't working. Yeah. I was like, so am I the anomaly? Because, it works with my patients, and why is it not working with me? And I started to really recognize that the more I identified as somebody with depression, the more it seemed to cement itself into my life. And I really started to think about, okay, well, if we take the manifestation principles that are really about shifting our thoughts and shifting our emotions, I started to thread that back to thoughts and emotions are essentially the consequence of our identity, of who we believe ourselves to be. Yeah. And so if I keep reanimating the story that I'm somebody that's depressed, no wonder I keep experiencing depression. And so I started to kind of reverse engineer that a little bit and start to play with the idea of, okay, the evidence tells us we have to play in a sick role for a little bit, but what if I turn that on its head and played in a wellness role for a little bit and just see what happens? And it literally transformed my life. Like I no longer see myself as somebody with depression. Yeah. I started and scaled a business to 6 figures in a year and started to be recognised by people like all over the world for this crazy gift that I have. So had I not started to, play with the identity piece, I wouldn't have been brave enough to start the business in the first place and then kind of start to merge a lot of the spiritual aspects that had been helping with the depression. And that's essentially what helped me produce my frameworks that I've got today that kind of teaches people the ins and outs of manifestation. So it was a process of my own healing journey, I suppose, really was what really got me into it. Yeah. And yeah.
How brave is that to just sit and reflect? And a lot of people would have sat in that depression, and it is, if you say you are, then you are, you believe your mind over anything else. It's like when I have a few clients who have said in the past about saving, and they've said, no, I'm not great at saving. I can't save. It's an inherited thing from like parents. They weren't great with money, and it's, it's this and it's that. And it come down to the fact that they were trying to save too much. And actually, when you started really, really small with saving £2 a week or saving £1 a week, you were then giving your mind that evidence to say, oh, actually, I can save. Yeah. So we do believe a lot of what we say to ourselves. And it's just amazing how you were the one to get yourself out of that depression and to flip it on its head, which is just incredible. And we do get so many of our guests, if not all, who have created these amazing businesses from their own personal journey, from something that they've gone through, which are just the best businesses, aren't they?
Absolutely. And I 1,000% believe, because obviously I have a lot of spirituality infused in what I do. So I'm a yoga and meditation teacher as well. And I 1,000% believe that, you know, there is a huge destiny within every single one of us, and that the challenges that we face in life are actually leading us towards that grand destiny, if you like, so to speak. So I meet a lot of people that are like, I know I'm meant for more, but these things are in the way. And I'm like, but what if those things are actually the pathway to develop the qualities and skills that you need to become the version of you that does have that success? And if you think about, you know, most people I meet that are really successful in business and are happy, because that's a caveat to that, is people that are doing things that are of purpose, that are making an impact, that are changing people's lives. And we can't do that if we haven't figured out how to do that for ourselves. So, you know, if you want to be in that overflow energy of giving back and creating an impact, you've got to trust yourself to do that for yourself first. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people come to me and they're like, you know, what's my sole purpose and da 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 da. And I always say, start with mending your own heart first, because that will be the thing that fortifies and strengthens you and gives you the tools that you are literally coded to be really, really good at. And that's what you'll go out into the world and, you know, help other people with, because you've mastered it first.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned identity, which is just absolutely key, you know, to knowing who you are, to know what you want moving forward. Do you find a lot of women, I know we do a lot with the work that we do, a lot of women have lost themselves to careers, to motherhood, to relationships. I always say with some of the mums that I've worked with in the past, you know, as women, we get married and our surnames change. When we become mothers, we become mum. You know, a lot of the school mums in my phone book are Isabella's mum, Ariana's mum, you know, and it's about really reclaiming your identity and not allowing, you know, motherhood or career or relationship to take over that. What can you see out there now with identity, and especially with women, if you can share that?
So I think this is one of my all-time favourite topics, and it's something I'm majorly passionate about. I've always been huge on empowering women, because naturally as women, we tend to take, when I say a passive role, I really don't mean a passive role. Like we're super active in everything that we do. But we do tend to naturally merge with what's going on around us. Like we tend to put ourselves into the background, and we almost take a supporting act role, even though usually it's us holding the strings together and keeping everything going. And the one thing that I say to women over and over and over again is, I totally honor your desire to serve other people, but you can't serve from an empty cup. You have to look after yourself first and foremost. And the one thing I find repeatedly, whether it's working with my multimillionaire clients, whether it's working with, you know, we had a client recently who literally made herself homeless because she was trying to, you know, fit other people into, and she just was not looking after herself in any way, shape or form. We were talking about the fact that if you are not prioritizing yourself, essentially, if you can start to think about that as a selfish act, because we really don't like being selfish as women, you might be more motivated to take care of yourself. So as women, we really want to look after. It's a very maternal, nurturing kind of energy. And if we really can start to think about, well, if I'm not cared for, I can't be the best mum. I can't be the best partner. I can't be the best friend. We might be more inclined to look after ourselves a little bit more. And once you've got this into the swing of that a little bit and you've started to recognize, oh, actually, it does feel better to look after myself, and it does feel better to kind of take care of myself, then you'll start to notice all of the things that you probably should have been doing for yourself that you weren't doing before. And I think that's the main barrier that I see with women, is that they've just got so in to the patterning of putting others before themselves that they can't see any other way. And that's the one thing that I do like to say to people is, I know that you have a you have a need, you have a literal need to be of service to people. But think about it this way. If you can't put yourself first, then technically you're being selfish. And it's kind of a bit of a mind hack that we go, oh, okay, well, I don't want to be selfish. That's the core thing that we don't do as women. We don't be selfish. So I'll do a bit of self-care so that I'm not being selfish. And that's usually a cute little hack that does tend to work for people.
The next time we say, oh no, we can't do that spa, I'm going to say, well, actually, it's really selfish of us for not going to that spa because we need to fill our cup. So get the spa on the speed dial and book us in. That's amazing. And you can tell how much you love what you do because you're just glowing when you're talking
I mean, the makeup
about
helps.
it. And the great lighting.
I absolutely adore what I do. Like, absolutely adore it. And sometimes I have to pinch myself because I'm like, oh my God, this is my life. Like, and a lot of that in part is due to, it didn't always look like this. Like I had to put a lot of, for me, it was less about the hard work in terms of like leveraging the business and the strategy and all of that. And most of it was really about fortifying who I am and essentially doing the work to, there was like an older self-concept that was like, well, you can't show up for yourself and do business. Like, who are you to leave your 9-to-5 job? What if you can't show up for yourself and pay the bills? Like, I really had to do a lot of inner work to kind of resolve a lot of that stuff. And it's totally worth it. And I love it now. And I, absolutely obsessed with doing that with other people as well. So it's good fun.
So where would people start? If they don't really know very much about manifestation, and where did they start? What's the first top 3 tips that you could give someone?
So my top 3 tips might be a little bit different to what is out there. So a lot of people tend to start in like the law of attraction side of things. But to me, that feels a little bit outdated now because of this core thread of identity piece that I've really started to recognize. And I've been using this with my clients, and it's so much faster than trying to go down the law of attraction path. So my first place to start would be, who do you believe yourself to be in this moment? And where do you want to be? Because the gap between who you believe yourself to be now and who you believe you're going to be when you've reached that big goal that you really want, it's resolving that gap that is going to be the issue. So you've got to get a real clear understanding, and radical honesty with yourself is a huge piece here, because a lot of us think that we are either much further back than we think we are or much further ahead than we think we are, because we're not doing that daily self-reflection. Is get really honest about where you're at. Get really honest about where you want to be, and really commit to the idea that nobody else is going to get you there but you. And I know that feels really like, sometimes that can be really triggering for people. It can be really, really hard. But there's the older techniques of manifestation tend to say the universe is going to bring you it. And I have a really different take on that, in that I believe you are the universe. And
I know,
actually
100% action for attraction.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you have to become that which you desire. Like, it's not about, well, I'll just become a match for it until the universe lands on my lap. Like, it's not. It
Come on.
Exactly. But if you think about it that way, it's like, you don't get anything from that. Like, that age-old saying of like, enjoy the journey. And it's so cliche, but it's so freaking true. Like, you're not obsessed with the fancy house and the fancy car and the fancy partner. You're actually falling more in love with who you are. And that's the journey. Like, that's the process. So for me, it would be, start there. Start with all the pieces that you don't adore about yourself right now and that you don't want to shout from the rooftops, and look at how you can start cultivating those skills and qualities and characteristics. And that's the other thing that I would really say to people is, we have this idea that identity is kind of fixed, that like we're kind of like digging through the muck to find out, who am I really? Like, who am I really? As if there's like this version of you that you somehow can't get access to. And I would say, turn that on its head and say, who do you choose to be? Because you do have the power to choose who you want to be. And the more you can start thinking like less about who am I and more about who do I choose to be, then things are going to naturally start to happen in your world, because our inner reality is really what is creating our external reality. Whether you think about it from a logical perspective of it literally is our perception that's creating our reality, or if you want to think about it from energetics and manifestation, like the universe is literally a mirror for what you are, then the only thing you really need to work with is who you are. So I just say to people, get really clear on who you are and who you want to be, and then go at it with everything you've got. and you will essentially master manifestation and life.
Easy peasy.
Yeah,
tick,
easy
tick.
peasy. That's simple.
Wow. So where's our destiny going to take us then?
Do you want to do card reading?
Yeah.
Do we want to do a card reading? Yes, please.
So essentially all you need to do is take your non-dominant hand, so whichever hand you don't write with,
God.
close your eyes
Yeah.
and just run your fingers along the top of the cards. You'll get some kind of signal. So you might get a bit of a zap, or you'll just get an impulse. Yeah, I want that card. Just trust it. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
And just pull a card and see what comes up.
You're going to go first.
Okay.
Go on,
Well,
you go
I'm already
first.
thinking of like the first bit was me non-dominant hands, because I'm sat here doing this, which because I have to do a lit and a r, like this one says a lit, so I know. Let's see.
So I do card readings
So close
differently
your
to
eyes.
most people.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes, yeah.
With my left hand.
With your left
Give me
hand.
instructions.
You can open your eyes when you get in the card.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So turn it over and have a little look at it.
Green Tara.
What's it say at the bottom?
Start delegating.
Oh my goodness me.
Ask others, including me, to help you instead of trying to do everything by yourself.
Gorgeous. So immediately you will have had a reaction to that, and your mind will have automatically started to feed you information of like, well, that's going to mean this, and it's going to mean that, and it's going to mean this. A lot of people discount that and they're like, oh, well, that's just my mind. I'm a firm believer that everything we do is connected to a wider aspect of ourselves. I call it source or divinity. Some people call it God, some people call it the universe, but it's always streaming information to us all of the time. And we've learned not to trust it. But the more you trust it and the more you listen to it, the stronger and more accurate those messages get. So what was the first inclination you had when you looked at the card? And the imaging is also important as well. That's going to be giving you information.
Oh my God, I'm crap at delegating. It was actually like
Calling you
I
out.
felt seen. Yeah. And then I thought, oh God, Claire will be panicking because the only other person I delegate to would be Claire. So she's probably sitting there thinking, oh my God, I can't do
Please don't
anymore.
learn how to delegate more.
But
It's a team.
both
It's
of
a
us
team, isn't it?
notoriously are rubbish at delegating, and would define ourselves really as control freaks, wouldn't we? Unless we've done it, and that's I think why we work so well together, because Claire's probably about the only other person that I know who, when she says she's going to do something, like it's already done. So like there's that real trust, isn't there? But
And because we've had to work really hard for very little from the start, and we're both so good now and so aware that if you want to create a project in the line of work that we're in around the community interest company, you have to get the numbers, you have to get the results. You can't just start a CIC and expect people to just go, there's loads of money, go and make that beautiful project happen and help all of those children and young people. You've got to work like for free. We still work for free at times, don't we? You've got to work to show that these are the results and this is the evidence, because a lot of the corporates and a lot of, the funding that we get is very evidence-based. They want to know where their money's going, how it's going to help. So, there is a lot of work. So if you don't get that done and you haven't stayed up a little bit later to, tick different boxes, and you haven't invested more energy and time than what monetary you're getting paid for at the start, then it's not going to work. And I think we do love what we do so much that we don't see it as being a problem. So I think with delegating, we're worried that we're putting, it's not like just a control thing, it's we don't want to burden anybody else as well.
yeah.
I get
We don't
that.
want to put
I
all of
get
that pressure on someone. And we know how much women in business especially are worth, and how much if you do a job that you should be getting paid for that. But in our line of work, it doesn't always work like that, especially at the start when you're building relationships. It took us 7-8 years to build the relationships that are getting us the funding now. And I think it's about delegating and not being, oh God, will they do it? Or will they think we're really being really cheeky if we ask them to go to this workshop, but they're not getting paid for it, but they're getting, you know, knowledge and experience from it, or they're building connections. You know,
I think as well, it's like it's in the home as well, isn't it? You know, you have this, as women, I feel like we have this constant running to-do list in our heads that's not just work. It's like, oh God, the kids go back to school next week and they need X, Y, and Z, and, you know, such and such needs this. And then, oh God, right, there's the lunch boxes as well. And then what are they going to have for tea tonight? And then, oh, the house hasn't been properly cleaned for months and I've got this going on. Like it's that running commentary in your head of all the things to do all the time for all the people, that because you hold that in your head, it's just, that's really hard to delegate, because then that's almost you being bossy and giving other people jobs to do. Because just because the jobs are in your head, you kind of imagine, well, my husband must have a running list of jobs in his head as well. I don't think he does. But I mean, you know, you kind of imagine if everyone's running around with all the things going on in their head like you are, to delegate some of your list to someone else and be like, oh, can you help me with that? Or can you do that for me? Would be really cheeky as well.
So what's really fascinating about what you both have just described, so immediately you've kind of been prompted and immediately both of your systems have started to activate why I can't do that. And so the really interesting thing.
Sorry, that's what Next. Shan't have my turn. Pick another one. My energy was all off, all wrong.
We're not having that one. We're not buying it. Put it back. So what's really interesting, and where people go really wrong with manifestation and they get really stuck and they think it's not working, is because immediately you ask for something, so you're automatically, we're energetic beings and we're constantly communicating with the universe and telling the universe what we want. And the universe is always giving us signals. What we tend not to recognize is that the universe is trying to show us these are the parts of you that need a little bit of attention, that need a little bit of love, that need a little bit of care and a little bit of transmutation, I like to call it, of what if you were somebody that could delegate. So we've got this running story of like all of the different reasons of why we can't do that. And we're not going to completely like bypass that. We're not going to completely ignore it, because that's information in and of itself. But then it's like, okay, so if we were to delegate more, and it could even be as wise as saying, do you have a relationship with the universe? Do you have a relationship with energy and frequency? You can delegate to that. It's not just necessarily people. It can be the wider aspect of like, or if you have a faith and you believe in, a set God and you want to talk to God and delegate to God a little bit more. There's that aspect of it as well. But it's about getting creative and thinking, okay, so I have this running list of all of these different things. That's the business list. That's the home list. That's the self-care list that I've been putting off, and that's really at the back of the cupboard. But it's still like eats at me. What if those things weren't present? What if I really could step into the version of me that was burden-free around those multiple lists, because I'd mastered how to delegate efficiently? And so what you then are going to do is step into that energy, and your mind is going to get super creative about how to make that version of you come true. And it's going to start giving you information about how to become that version of you. And before you know it, you've kind of stepped into this new energy, and the universe will start to give you clues as well. So it's not just in here, it starts to kind of like show up externally. And this is where the magical aspect of manifestation comes in, when essentially the world is just responding to who you are, and you've chosen to resonate differently. So the world naturally has to shift to meet you there. So it becomes a little bit easier. But as long as you sit in the frequency of, I can't delegate, it's not okay, these are all the reasons why, then the universe has to respond to you in that same frequency. So that's where we get ourselves stuck, rehashing the same old stories, when we could choose to rewrite the script to almost open the door to possibility. And that's when new possibilities start to arise. So maybe that's something we can play with after the show.
Maybe that's a title when we do our minds, our brainstorm, and we actually write possibly delegate, like as like a like who we would delegate that to.
I just think even the like you say, just changing the words, and like, okay, so it doesn't have to be delegating to a specific person. Like how can I open the door to this?
And it can be really soft. Naturally, we're quite resistant to big change as people. So what I always talk about is, so there is literally a process of expansion. This is what I teach in all of my programs. Like I have set frameworks that teach people like, this is what you're going to run up against. So you kind of like know what to expect so you can come at it head on. And there's literally a natural part of your system that I call the saboteur frequency. The moment you decide you're going to expand, that version of you comes online. And it's like, no to expansion. No, this is unsafe, it's unfamiliar, it's new territory. Yeah. And so there's a version of you that literally comes online to halt that progress. But most of us are really unaware of the fact that that's happening. Yeah. And so we sabotage our own success over and over again, and we hash out the same cycles over and over again because we're not aware of the fact that that's come online really strongly in our system. And so one part of you is like out here thinking that you're doing all of these things, and there's literally someone behind you just unraveling everything that you've been doing. As long as you've got eyes on that part of you, it can't do its job in trying to like tear down your success because you're watching it. So
it's like that saying, isn't it? Don't be the only thing that holds you back from moving forward. Yeah. Is it my turn? Do you want me to do one as well?
Let's have a look. Yemanya, yeah. What's it say at the bottom?
She's very...
Oh, yeah. Some of them are a bit revealing.
Golden opportunity. Sorry. Golden opportunity. Important doors are opening for you right now. Walk through them.
So we'll try something a little bit different here. Okay. So we did a little bit of work with your mental body, which is your thoughts and your process and the stories that come up. But we'll do a little bit of work with your physical body. So what happened in your physical body and like emotionally when you saw that?
I was like, oh, yeah.
So there's like an expansion happening in your body and
breath.
Like a lightness. Yeah. And you were able to let breath in more. That's another one for ladies. We hold our breath all the time. And if you think about this in terms of like, breath is life force, energy. And if we're naturally cutting that off, we're naturally cutting ourselves off from success and from the flow of life and all of that kind of thing. So your body literally just showed you one of the core things that you can do to open a doorway, which is open the doorway to breath and allow more breath into your body. What that's naturally going to do is it's going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to chill you out, calm you down. And it's actually clinically proven that if we are increasing things like dopamine in the brain, that we are more likely to be creative thinkers. So we think outside the box, and creative thinkers are more likely to be successful. Yeah. So my language in for that is you open up your connection to your channel, which is the divine intelligence within you that literally has the blueprints to create what you want to create. And you allow more of that into your body so that it can guide you rather than the human you that is mainly the saboteur aspect. So if you want some homework, Claire, I can give you some homework.
Yes.
So have you ever tried any breathwork before?
So not really, no. Not. I've done yoga and meditation and I do try and breathe. But yeah, no breath work as in...
I'd be worried if you weren't trying to breathe as well, to be
honest. I do try and breathe, but you're absolutely spot on. Like it's like just all the time, isn't it? Just getting through the day and we never sit down and just go, let's just take a breath. Yeah. Like that's just it.
And it's so interesting. So my channel is naturally starting to speak to me. So I kind of receive the information. So I'm hearing things. I'm not nuts. This is why I became a mental health professional, I think. I feel like my system was like, you're going to be doing this. Yeah. So you need to be a qualified mental health professional so people don't think you're nuts. So one of the key things that I heard for you is when things start to feel overwhelming and pressured for you, that there becomes this tendency to cut off the breath and to just rush about and the shoulders come up and it like physiologically it becomes quite difficult to allow breath in. And what they're showing me is that actually in those moments when you feel that kind of like, kind of, oh my God, I can't breathe. And not that we register it like that, we just feel the panic, don't we? Is to just consciously bring the shoulders down, open the chest and allow yourself to breathe for literally a minute. And what you're going to notice is that there's going to be inspiration that starts to feed into your system for how you can make that day feel a lot easier. And it's going to give you actual practical strategic tips on how to make the big day that you've got a lot easier. So that golden doorway that's opening up, you open that up for yourself by choosing to do things differently.
And isn't it funny how we give so much advice to everybody else? And
Yeah.
one of my things with, especially the young people I work with, is to not react straight away, to just take a breath and just, you don't even have to think about it. Just take a breath. Don't respond straight away to the text message, to the, nasty comments in the hallway. Just, and you don't do it yourself. You don't just go, stop for a minute and just, start again. I think that's what we're good at doing together, isn't it? Like sometimes we do go for a walk and we take ourselves out of like the business, world, and we go for a walk, and that's when like you said, that's when the creativity comes alive, isn't it? And we get 20 things on our to-do list at the end of the walk. Sorry. Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much for that. So if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be and why?
I think for me, it would be to be the reminder for people that you've got the ability to change your life.
Yeah.
That would be the one thing I would want to be remembered for, in that I faced a lot of adversity as a child, and, I had a really difficult life, and I've always been about, well, I'm going to make that the reason that I'm successful. And I meet a lot of people that make it the reason that they can't be successful. Yeah. And I'm a little bit of one of those of like, I'm going to give you a loving kick up the bum and be like, at the end of the day, there is a choice involved, and, therapy and all of that is beautiful around all of that, because sometimes we don't feel like we have a choice. Yeah. But if I could be remembered for one thing, it would be inspiring people to take action for themselves to change their own lives.
Yeah.
Oh, just amazing. So if you could have a cup of tea with anyone in the world, who would you choose and why?
See, I've been thinking about this question. I don't really know what to say. So it probably would be me mum, because it was literally a 10th anniversary of passing on Monday.
Wow.
And I would love to just sit down with her and say, tell her what my life looks like now. And
she knows.
Say if she does. She does. To be honest with you, like one of the huge aspects of this has been, she really has been my guiding light. Yeah. Like she was the one that really started all of this for me, because when she passed, I wasn't scared of the spiritual stuff anymore. I just ran at it, because I kind of felt like I had an ally on the other side, and I felt closer to her now than I did when she was alive, because I just feel like she's a part of me now. So, but it would be nice to just sit and have an actual chin mag and a cuppa. And she did love a cuppa. So
who doesn't?
Who doesn't love a cuppa? Unless it's made the wrong way, which is our closing tradition on the show. We would love to hear how you would make the perfect cup of tea for myself and Cal.
Okay, so that's really fascinating, because we were talking about this before, weren't we?
Did you?
I haven't done any research.
Did you?
No, I haven't.
She might have tried to manipulate your answer in any way.
No, I did shower.
Oh, you should.
By making.
So that's manipulation.
No, but subconsciously.
I showed her how to make a cup of tea. I just said I showed her how to make a cup of tea. So now she knows.
Lovely Leanne stood next to me while I made the tea, and hopefully she took in some of that knowledge.
Took in some information. But I am at a detriment, because I don't drink tea myself. So, and I know that's like scouse, betrayal and whatever. But I just don't have that.
Got over to the herbal
side. I'm a peppermint girl.
Yeah, there you go.
But what I would do is, it would be typical builder's brew. It would be leave that bag in for as long as possible. That's how my mum liked it. So that's how I do it for everyone else.
Would she put the milk in with the tea bag and give it a little sage?
I know that's a point of contention. So
it is.
I would probably put it in afterwards. Okay. It's 11:11. Make a wish.
There you go. Yeah, that's your answer.
For everybody to be able to make a perfect cup of tea.
And I'd put 1 sugar in it.
So
and then I'd say it. So I'd put the milk in afterwards, and then I'd.
So you take the tea bag out and then put the milk in.
It's the universe.
Okay. No, I feel like I'm not taking that yet. I'm not going to give her the point, because you've shown her how to do it in the kitchen. So now,
she said that's how I made
there's been experiments and everything.
See,
Carl, you've swayed the guests.
Guys.
You have swayed the guests.
Getting in there with all the magic and
and you swayed the guests. So you're not having that point. I'm sorry.
Cheat.
I love that. But you know what? What an incredible episode.
I know.
That was just amazing in itself. And I think we've been seen, haven't we? And I think there's some changes that need to be made. And we will take it away with us. It's one of the good things about the show.
Yeah.
we do take things away and we do implement them in our own lives. Basically, the show's just for me and Cal to just get on with life.
Do more learning.
It's the best way to do it.
You're all
Serve
about
everyone
guide,
else. You've got to serve yourself first, girl. So I love it.
And you're all our guides, guiding us. But thank you so
you.
much, and thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and all your experience, and especially about your mum as well. You know, and yeah, we wish you all the luck for the future. Not that you're going to
Thanks for
need
having
it
me.
because you've got all of this amazing
Welcome.
things. Thank you so much.
Thank you.